Supreme Court has voted to overturn abortion rights. Draft opinion shows. Well, this is shocking news here. The Supreme Court has voted to strike down the landmark Roe v. Wade decision according to an initial draft majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito, circulated inside the court and obtained by POLITICO. The draft opinion is a full-throated, unflinching repudiation of the 1973 decision, which guaranteed federal constitutional protections of abortion rights, and the subsequent 1992 decision, Planned Parenthood v. Casey, that largely maintained the right. Roe was egregiously wrong from the start, Alito writes. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled, he writes in the document. See, this is really something, because when these guys went up before, the committees and before the Senate, and they asked them this question, and they said, yeah, this is precedent, as it stands. It's very unusual to overturn something like that. You can imagine, like, the case Plessy versus Ferguson, right? That's one of those cases that was standing there, I guess maybe 100 years, that says that a black person doesn't have the kind of rights that a white person has. Plessy versus Ferguson, and he sued, and he said, no, you don't have the rights as a white man in this country. But see, the Supreme Court later overturned that. Now, something like that you can understand. It was a different time back then. But to overturn this decision, Roe versus Wade, to say, well, this was egregiously wrong from the start. I think what this is going to do, this is going to really bring out a lot of people, men and women, to vote. Remember during the 2016 election when Trump was running against Hillary, and there was some woman for Bernie Sanders, and I remember some of the women saying they would never vote for Hillary, But see, people who talk like that, they're short-sighted or myopic. They don't look beyond. They just think you're voting for president. No, you're not just voting for president. The president picks different people from and unfortunately, Donald Trump was able to pick 3 justices on the Supreme Court, which is very rare, right? And he only served 1 term, and he was able to pick 3. Can you imagine if he had served 2 terms, what he would be able to do? So that's a lesson there, people. You got to understand civics. And when you vote, you're not just voting for president. You're voting for somebody who has the potential and the power to choose somebody to put in the high court who could affect your life for generations. So, let's see here. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled, he writes in the document. Why? Labeled as the opinion of the court. And these are 5 people. Who are they to speak like that, right? You're talking about a decision that goes back over 50 years. It is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representative. Yeah, this is the same Constitution that had black people were 3/5 of a person. Black people didn't have any rights. Not only black people didn't have any rights, but even women in America couldn't vote, back then. No, women had no rights. Only white men. Back then, the way the Constitution was written, only white men who were landowners. It wasn't enough being a white man. You had to be like own property to be able to vote. That's how it was. So this nonsense about it's time to heed the Constitution. Well, if we're going to heed the Constitution, just remember, a woman couldn't vote. It was only until like 1919 that woman got the right to vote. So women had to take a back seat for many, many years. So justices can and sometimes do change their votes as draft opinions circulate, and major decisions can be subject to multiple drafts and vote trading, sometimes until just days before a decision is unveiled. The court's holding will not be final until it is published, likely in the next 2 months. The immediate impact of the ruling as drafted in February would be to end a half-century guarantee of federal constitutional protection of abortion rights and allow each state to decide whether to restrict or ban abortion. It's unclear if there have been subsequent changes to the draft. No draft decision in the modern history of the court has been disclosed publicly while the case was still pending. The unprecedented revelation is bound to intensify the debate over what was clearly the most controversial case on the docket this term. The draft opinion offers an extraordinary window into the justices' deliberations in one of the most consequential cases before the court in the last 5 decades. Some court watchers predicted that a conservative majority would slice away at abortion rights without flatly overturning the 49-year-old precedent. The draft shows that the court is looking to reject Roe's logic and legal protection. Okay, so I'm going to put the link here. Anybody wants to follow up and read, because this is a lot of stuff here. But remember, ladies, those people who said that they were not going to vote for Hillary, I will never vote for Hillary. Well, yeah, you wanted to vote for Bernie, right? Well, this is what happens. See, there are many Republicans who detest Donald Trump. They don't like him, but they want to use him because they know he's a clown, like a court jester. He's somebody who's like dressed up with a fancy face, and you can laugh with, and he can do things for them. That's why they voted for him. Because he's a clown, you see. And finally, they get what they want. Now, the downside of this, if this happens, is that for all those Republicans who depended on their base coming out of the vote, to keep them in office, well, they really got no more reason, no real good reason to run to the polls now to vote for these people, because, hey, many of them, all they wanted to do was advance the cause to overturn Roe versus Wade. So, if you were getting up in the morning, right, like before the crack of dawn, when you can hear the cocks crow or whatever, and all of a sudden you get what you want, why are you going to get up early in the morning anymore? You're gonna stay in bed. You're gonna lie down in bed until you see the sun comes out, and then you can get up. And this is probably what's going to happen. Unfortunately, for some of the Republicans who are running, the people who would come out and say, oh, I have your back, I'm going to vote for you, well, they may not be reliable anymore. Now you're going to get a bunch of angry people, also independent, and maybe some Republican women, because they also have abortion, you know. Don't fool yourself. And they might think this court just went too far, okay, if this is what's going to happen. And there may be a backlash.